The balance of the war was, for the moment, tilting toward Rhaenyra and the Blacks. Yet with Aegon II still alive and hidden somewhere, with the Greens retaining a strong host in the south, and with the terror of Aemond and Vhagar still hanging over the realm, Rhaenyra could not truly feel at ease. Even so, the power to choose the next move remained in her hands. With the support of House Stark and House Arryn, the balance of forces was clearly in her favor. But in war, few understand the meaning of the word unexpected. And soon an unforeseen event would strike, a turning point important enough to begin reversing the tide. Let us continue to the next part of the Dance of the Dragons. 15. The Blacks' next move. Not long after Rhaenyra took King's Landing, the citadel of Oldtown sent hundreds of white ravens across the Seven Kingdoms to announce that winter had come. But for Rhaenyra, summer still seemed to linger. She had won the capital, and though the people had begun to grumble, the city remained firmly in her grasp. Snow began to fall along the mountains of the moon in the Vale, yet Lady Jane Arryn kept her promise. The Arryn fleet joined the Black Fleet. From White Harbor, Lord Manderly's sons, Medric and Torrhen, also sailed south with ships of their own. The Blacks' strength grew greater by the day. But as long as the head of the enemy lived, the war could not end. The Kingmaker, Sir Criston Cole, was dead, but King Aegon II still lived, hidden in the shadows. Lord Boros Baratheon remained at Storm's End, still and watchful, yet loyal to Aegon. The Lannisters were in turmoil, but their wealth could still buy Aegon much. Worst of all was Aemond and Vhagar in the Riverlands. He struck from the sky with dragonflame, vanished, then struck again the next day 50 miles away. Vhagar's fire reduced Old Willow and White Willow to ash, and turned Hog Hall to blackened stone. At Marydown Dell, 30 people and 300 sheep died in dragonfire. Then he returned to Harrenhal and burned its wooden buildings. 6 knights and 40 soldiers perished when they tried to stand against Vhagar. Each report of these raids spread fear. Every lord wondered if they would be next. The Mootons of Maidenpool, Lady Darklyn of Duskendale, and Lord Blackwood of Raventree all wrote to the Queen, begging for dragons to protect them. Yet Rhaenyra's true concern was not Aemond, but his younger brother, Daeron. Tessarion was smaller than Rhaenyra's dragons, but Lord Ormond Hightower commanded a strong host. They had crossed the Mander, drawing closer to the capital, crushing those loyal to the Queen and swelling their ranks with lords who yielded. Daeron and Tessarion became the spear point of that army, scouting, ambushing, threatening, until the Blue Dragon became a nightmare to Rhaenyra's men. Seeing this, the Queen's hand, the sea snake, urged her to speak to her enemies. He advised mercy, pardon the Baratheons, Hightowers, and Lannisters if they laid down arms, make them swear fealty, and take hostages for the Iron Throne. He even suggested sending Queen Dowager Alicent and Queen Helena to the faith as a gesture of clemency. And Aegon II's daughter, Jaehaera, could be raised by Corlys himself until she was old enough to wed Prince Aegon, binding House Targaryen together again. "And what of my half-brothers?" Rhaenyra asked. "Should I pardon the usurper Aegon and his brother Aemond as well? One stole my throne in plain sight, the other stole my son." "Send them to the wall," the sea snake replied. "Let them take the black and serve in the Night's Watch for the rest of their days." "A new oath for oath-breakers," the Queen said. "It means nothing. They stole my throne, and they must die." Daemon's earlier words returned to her. To forgive rebels and traitors is to sow the seeds of future rebellions. "This war ends," Daemon had said, "when the heads of traitors are nailed upon the king's gate." They would find Aegon II eventually, but for now, the enemies before them were Aemond and Daeron. The Baratheons and Lannisters would be broken, their lands and castles granted to the loyal. That thought horrified the sea snake. "Half the lords of Westeros will rise," he warned, "if we destroy 2 great houses." In the end, Rhaenyra chose a path. She sent envoys to Storm's End and Casterly Rock with terms, announcing the Queen's mercy after her half-brothers were dead. "Once they die, the rest will kneel," she declared. "Kill all their dragons. I will hang their heads in the Great Hall, so all may see the price of treason." Then she set dragons to their tasks. Syrax, Tyraxes, and Seasmoke would remain in the capital. Though Joffrey was only 13 and eager to prove himself, when told he and Tyraxes must stay to defend the Red Keep, he swore he would do his duty. Daemon himself would fly with Caraxes to the Trident to seek Vhagar and Aemond, and with him would go Nettles on Sheepstealer. Ulf and Hugh would ride Silverwing and Vermithor to Tumbleton, 50 miles from King's Landing, the last strongpoint between the capital and Ormond's host. They were to hold the town and castle and deal with Daeron and Tessarion. 16. The First Battle of Tumbleton. Daemon and Nettles hunted Aemond and Vhagar for a long time without success. They rested at Maidenpool, guests of Lord Manfred Mooten. Meanwhile, Aemond continued burning. Sweet Willow on the Green Fork, Sallydance on the Red Fork, Bowshot Bridge, Old Ferry, Crone's Mill, Bechester, then he vanished before any hunters could catch him. Each dawn, Caraxes and Sheepstealer rose from Maidenpool to scour the riverlands, always to no avail. Lord Mooten suggested they split up, but Daemon refused. Vhagar was one of the 3 dragons left from Aegon the Conqueror's time, slow to grow compared to the dragons of the Valyrian freehold, yet now nearly as large as Balerion the Black Dread had once been. Her fire could melt stone and brick. Neither Caraxes nor Sheepstealer could face her alone. Only together did they have a chance. From then on, Daemon and Nettles stayed together, day and night, in the sky and within the castle. While their search stalled, a great battle erupted at Tumbleton. The town was a wealthy market on the Mander, with a small but sturdy castle overlooking it. Though its garrison numbered only dozens, thousands of men arrived from Bitterbridge, Longtable, and further south. Riverland's forces gathered as well, swelling the Queen's host at Tumbleton to 9,000. They outnumbered Ormond's men, and they had 2 dragons, Silverwing and Vermithor, and their riders. The newcomers were welcomed with cheers. No one suspected what waited behind those smiles. The true reason for the betrayal and the full truth of what happened, no one can say. But one thing is certain, someone flooded Tumbleton in blood. Ormond's men had infiltrated the Queen's host to sabotage it, and at the right moment, Sir Ulf and Sir Hugh changed sides. Illiterate as they were, no written confession would ever explain what turned them, but the course of the battle is known to all. 6,000 of the Queen's soldiers formed ranks to meet the Hightower host. They fought bravely, but volleys of arrows thinned them, then cavalry struck hard. The survivors fell back behind Tumbleton's walls. When most of the survivors were safely through the gates, Roddy Dustin led the Winter Wolves into the Hightower left, charging straight into an army 10 times their number, toward Lord Ormond himself, seated beneath the golden 3-headed dragon banner of King Aegon II. They say Lord Roderick Dustin was drenched head to toe in blood, his own and his enemies'. Sir Brynden Hightower, Ormond's cousin, rode to stop him. He fought Dustin in single combat and hacked off the arm that held Dustin's shield. But Dustin roared on and fought like a madman, killing Sir Brynden and Lord Ormond himself before finally falling. The last Hightower banners were cut down by the last of the Winter Wolves, and the people inside the town began to cheer, believing the day had turned. Even Tessarion's arrival did not break their will. After all, they had 2 dragons of their own. Then Vermithor and Silverwing rose into the sky, and they turned their fire upon Tumbleton. The cheers became screams. The town burned, homes, septs, people, everything. The burning ran through the streets like living torches, and the cries echoed across the Mander. The 2 traitors scoured the town with dragon flame. The slaughter was judged the most savage in Westerosi memory. Tumbleton, once wealthy, became ash and was never rebuilt. Thousands burned. Thousands more drowned trying to swim the river. Even those who knelt to surrender were not spared. Men of Lord Footley were beheaded after laying down arms. Women who survived were violated again and again. Even girls of 8 and 10, old men and boys were butchered. The dragons gorged themselves on the dead. 17. The blacks begin to fracture. Around this time, a merchant ship called Nassaria put into Dragonstone for repairs and supplies. The sailors claimed that during a storm on the voyage from Pentos to Old Volantis, They had seen 2 dragons fighting west of Dragonstone, their roars carrying for miles. The story spread, and by the next morning local fishermen sailed around the island. They found the corpse of a dragon burned black. By color and wings, they knew it to be Grey Ghost. The body had been torn in half, and part of it had been eaten. Sir Robert Quince, Rhaenyra's castellan, believed the culprit was the cannibal. Most agreed. The cannibal was known to prey on smaller dragons, though rarely with such savage violence. Some feared the beast would turn on them next and begged Quince to send knights to slay it, but he refused. "If we do not trouble it, the cannibal will not trouble us," he said. To prevent panic, he forbade fishermen from sailing into the waters where the carcass lay. In Blackwater Bay, news of Tumbleton's massacre reached the capital. Queen Dowager Alicent laughed when she heard. "What they have sown," she said, "now they reap." Rhaenyra was sitting the Iron Throne when the news arrived. Her face turned pale, and she fainted. When she woke, she ordered the city gates shut. No one was to leave or enter. "The traitors will not take my city from me," she said. Ormond's army might stand before the walls within a day, but the traitors could come sooner. Unlike his mother, Prince Joffrey was eager. "Let them come," he said. "Tyraxes and I will fight them." It only deepened the queen's fear. "You will go nowhere," she told him. "You are too young for war." 6 dragons remained in King's Landing, but only one stayed in the Red Keep, Syrax, the queen's own dragon. She kept Syrax chained in the stables, rarely flying her. The chains were long enough for Syrax to reach the yard, but not to take wing. In recent years, Syrax had been fed by keepers and had not hunted for herself in a long time. The others were confined to the dragon pit. Tyraxes of Prince Joffrey, Seasmoke of Sir Adam Valerian, the young dragons Morgul and Shrykos of the royal twins, and Dreamfire bonded to Queen Helena. Tradition demanded at least one dragon rider stationed at the dragon pit, flying patrols over the city. Since Rhaenyra kept her sons close, that duty fell to Sir Adam Valerian. But some among the Blacks began to question Adam's loyalty. Ulf and Hugh had betrayed them, so who could say others would not? Adam and Nettles were bastards too. Could they be trusted? Lord Bartimus Celtigar declared they could not. "A bastard's nature is betrayal," he said. "It is in their blood. They are never as loyal as true-born sons." He urged the queen to arrest them at once, before they also turned. Many agreed. Sir Luthor Largent, commander of the City Watch, Sir Laurent Marbrand, the queen's Lord Commander, even the Manderley Knights, Sir Medric and Sir Torrin. "Better to deny them the chance," Torrin said. "If the enemy gains 2 more dragons, we will surely lose." Only the Sea Snake protested. Adam and his brother Alan had Valerian blood, rightful heirs of Driftmark. As for the girl, rough as she was, she had fought bravely at the gullet. "And so did the 2 traitors," Celtigar snapped back. The hand's words no longer held sway. Rhaenyra had been betrayed too often. Fear and suspicion choked her court. She ordered Sir Luthor to take 20 gold cloaks to the dragon pit and arrest Adam, before he could become another traitor. When Largent reached Rhaenys' Hill, the dragon pit doors stood open. Seasmoke burst out, Sir Adam already in the saddle. Someone had warned him. Largent returned to the Red Keep in fury, stormed into the Hand's Tower, and had Lord Corlys Valerian seized, accusing him of betraying the queen. The old man did not deny it. Bound and beaten, he stayed silent. The Sea Snake was thrown into a dungeon to await trial and execution. 18. Chaos stories of Tumbleton spread through King's Landing, and with them, fear. Many claimed the capital would be next. Dragons would fight above the city, and this time the whole place would burn. When word came that the enemy was advancing, hundreds tried to flee, but the city watch blocked the gates. Trapped inside, some began digging deep pits to hide from dragonfire. Others prayed, drank, or sought comfort in brothels. By night, taverns, brothels, and seps overflowed. Chaos also spread among the queen's enemies. Many of Aegon's most loyal men were dead. With Ormond Hightower and Sir Brynden slain by Dustin, no true leader remained. Ormond's sons were far away in Old Town, mere boys. Though Daeron had been knighted, he was still young, raised beneath the shadow of his brothers Aegon and Aemond. He was more used to obeying than commanding. A distant kinsman, Sir Hobart Hightower, became the army's leader by right of blood. Hobart had lived 60 years without distinction. Until then, he had done little but oversee supplies. Daeron ordered Hobart to stop the atrocities, but Hobart's commands carried little weight. The worst crimes were committed by the two traitors, Ulf and Hugh. Ulf was drunk more often than sober, drowning himself in wine and women. Those who displeased him were fed to his dragon. Even the knighthood granted by Rhaenyra had not satisfied him. Even when Daeron named him Lord of Bitterbridge, he wanted more. Highgarden, claiming the Tyrells' neutrality, proved treason. Hugh Hammer's ambition ran deeper still. A blacksmith's son, huge and powerful, he boasted he could bend steel into a collar. Untrained though he was, his size made him terrifying. His weapon was a warhammer. He rode Vermithor, once King Jaehaerys' dragon. Among the living dragons, only Vhagar was larger or older. For that reason, Lord Hugh, as he styled himself, began to dream of the Iron Throne. He even said aloud, "Why be a lord when you can be king?" Yet without Ulf and Hugh, Daeron could not hope to take King's Landing. They had an army and 3 dragons. Rhaenyra had 3 as well. They did not yet know Adam had fled, and it would become 5 when Daemon and Nettles returned. Lord Peake argued they should delay and wait for Baratheon forces from Storm's End. Sir Hobart wanted to withdraw into the Reach for supplies. Desertion was growing, and men took whatever they could carry. In the north, another loyal lord was forced to choose the enemy. A raven arrived at Maidenpool with a letter from the Queen to Lord Manfred Mooten. He was commanded to take the head of Nettles, now said to be Daemon's lover. The letter also said, "Do not harm my husband, Prince Daemon Targaryen. Send my husband back when it is done, we must speak." Maester Norrin wrote that when Lord Mooten finished reading, his hands shook so badly he could barely speak. He drank 3 cups of wine, then summoned his brothers, captains, and the old knight Sir Florian Greysteel, keeping the maester present. He read the letter aloud and asked what should be done. "It is easy," said the captain of the guard. "The prince sleeps beside the girl, but he is old. 3 men can hold him, 6 to be sure. Shall we do it tonight?" 6 or 60, it is still Daemon Targaryen, Mooten's brother objected. Best to drug him with wine. Let him wake and find her dead. "She is young," Sir Florian said. "How do we know she has betrayed anyone? King Jaehaerys would not do this, nor any honorable man." "These are terrible times," Lord Mooten said. "The Queen has given me the worst choice. The girl is a guest beneath my roof. If I obey, Maidenpool will be cursed. If I refuse, we may all be killed." His brother answered, "We may be destroyed either way. Daemon is fond of the girl. A wise lord would kill them both, or Daemon will burn Maidenpool in his rage." "The Queen forbids harm to him," Mooten said, "and to kill 2 guests in their bed is double sin. I would be doubly cursed." He sighed. "Better if I had never read this letter." "Perhaps you did not," Maester Norrin said. "What happened after, no one truly knows. But we do know that the Maester, only 22, went to Daemon and Nettles and showed Daemon the letter. After reading it, Daemon said, 'The Queen's words, but a whore's work.' He drew his sword and asked if Mooten's men waited outside. Norrin said he had come in secret. 'You are a poor Maester,' Daemon told him, 'but a good man.' Then Daemon dismissed him. 'Do not tell your lord, nor my love, until tomorrow.' Daemon and Nettles spent their last night together beneath Mooten's roof. At dawn they came into the yard. Daemon helped Nettles prepare Sheepstealer one final time. As always, Nettles fed the dragon before flying. Dragons are easier to mount when they are full. That morning she offered a great black ram, the largest in Maidenpool. Blood stained her seat when she climbed into the saddle. Maester Norrin recorded that her cheeks were wet with tears. There were no words of farewell. But when Sheepstealer beat its wings and rose, Caraxes lifted its head and roared so loudly that the windows of Jonquil's tower cracked. Above the town, Nettles and her dragon flew toward the sea and vanished into the morning fog, never to be seen again. Daemon returned to the castle to breakfast with Lord Mouton. "This is the last time you will see me," he said. "I thank you for your hospitality. Tell all that I fly to Harrenhal. If my nephew Aemon dares face me, he will find me there, alone." And Daemon left Maidenpool for the last time. After he was gone, Maester Norrin told his lord, "Take my chain and bind my hands. You should deliver me to the queen. The girl escaped, and I have become a traitor." Mouton refused. "Keep your chain. All of us are traitors." That night, the queen's banner was pulled down, and the banner of King Aegon II was raised in its place. 19. The Battle Above the God's Eye. No banner flew above the blackened ruins of Harrenhal when Daemon arrived. Those few who still lived there fled at the sound of Caraxes' wings. When the last had gone, Daemon entered Harrenhal's great hall and waited. 13 days passed. On the 14th day, a shadow crossed the castle, darker than any cloud. Birds fled from the forest. A hot wind stripped leaves from the yard. Vhagar had finally come, with Aemon Targaryen on her back, clad in black armor edged with gold. He did not come alone. Alice Rivers came with him, a woman with long hair, his lover, heavy with child. Aemon circled the towers twice, then set Vhagar down in the yard, far from Caraxes. The dragons stared at each other with raw hatred. Caraxes spread his wings and roared, fire spilling along his jaws. Aemon helped Alice down, then turned to his uncle. "I have heard you've been looking for us." "Only you," Daemon answered. "Who told you I was here?" "My wife," Aemon said. "She saw you flying in a storm, in a lake on a mountain at dusk, in our fire while we cooked. She sees much. My Alice, you were a fool to come alone." "I was not alone before," Daemon replied, "and you should not have come." "I am here," Aemon said. "You have lived too long, uncle." "In that I agree," Daemon said. Daemon mounted Caraxes. Aemon kissed Alice, then climbed onto Vhagar and fastened 4 short chains to his saddle straps. Daemon wore no chains. Caraxes shrieked and spat fire into the sky. Vhagar answered with a roar like thunder. Both dragons launched upward. Daemon drove Caraxes hard, striking with a whip until they vanished into the clouds. Vhagar, older but vastly larger, climbed more slowly. The two wheeled above the God's Eye, the sun sinking and the lake lying still beneath them. Vhagar rose higher, searching, Alice Rivers watching from below. Then, like lightning, Caraxes fell upon Vhagar. Sunlight blinded Aemon. He saw nothing until impact. Caraxes struck the ancient dragon with crushing force. Their roars rolled across the lake for miles. They tangled and tore at one another in midair, fire pouring so fiercely that fishermen below thought the clouds themselves had ignited. Locked together, the dragons plunged toward the water. Caraxes' black teeth sank into Vhagar's throat. Vhagar answered with talons that ripped open Caraxes' belly, teeth shredding his wing. Neither dragon cared for anything but killing. They fell toward the lake at a terrible speed. And the tales all agree on this. In that moment, Daemon Targaryen stepped out of his saddle and leapt from one dragon to the other. In his hand was Dark Sister, the Senya's blade. Aemon panicked, fumbling with the chains that bound him to the saddle. Daemon tore away his nephew's helm and drove Dark Sister through the empty eye socket, so hard the blade pierced the young prince's throat. Less than a heartbeat later, both dragons smashed into the God's Eye, throwing up a pillar of water as high as Harrenhal's towers. No man and no dragon could survive such a blow, the fisherman said. Caraxes lived a little longer, crawling onto the shore, belly split, one wing torn away. He dragged himself to the walls beneath Harrenhal and died there. Vhagar's corpse rose on the lake's surface, blood pouring from her throat, the water churning around her, her final resting place. Years later, when the dragon's remains were found, Aemon's armored skeleton still sat in the saddle, with Dark Sister driven through his eye. Daemon's body was never found. The lake's currents are strange. Some claim he lived and went to find Nettles and spent his remaining days with her. But that is a fairy tale. and life is rarely kind enough to resemble stories. It was the 22nd day of the 5th moon of 130 AC, when 2 dragons fought and died above the god's eye. Daemon Targaryen was 49, Aemond was 20. Vhagar, the greatest living dragon of House Targaryen, one of the 3 who flew in Aegon's conquest, died at 181. Thus Part 4 ends with what may be the finest duel of the dance. Caraxes against Vhagar, Daemon against Aemond, and all are dead. Both the blacks and the greens fall into chaos. Rhaenyra grows weaker, though she still has dragons. In the next part, we will come to the remaining events of the dance, just as bloody and no less grand, especially the Second Battle of Tumbleton, where dragons truly dance in a waltz of fire and blood.